ॐ वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमम् देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः।
ॐ
ॐ
श्री
श्री
परमात्मने
परमात्मने नमः।
अथ त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः।
अथ
अथ
त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः।
त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः।
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्लोक नंबर 4। तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृच्छ यद्विकारि यतश्च यत्
तत्क्षेत्रं
तत्क्षेत्रं
यच्च
च
यादृक्
यादृक् यतश्च यत्
स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्सभासेन मे शृणु।
स च यो
स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु।
ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतं छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक्
ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतं छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक्
ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः
ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः
विनिश्चितैः
महाभूतान्यहङ्कारो बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च
महाभूतान्यहङ्कारो बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च
इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः
इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः
इच्छा द्वेषः सुखं दुःखं सङ्घातश्चेतना धृतिः
इच्छा द्वेषः सुखं दुःखं सङ्घातश्चेतना धृतिः
एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम्
एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम्
Up to that we are seeing किं क्षेत्रं कः क्षेत्रज्ञः का प्रकृतिः कः पुरुषः किं ज्ञानं किं ज्ञेयम् हे केशव एतत् वेदितुम् इच्छामि इति अर्जुनः पृष्टवान् भगवतः प्रतिवचनं started from the first shloka, second shloka. First shloka in some books. There is no question of Arjuna in some books. Kshetram idam kshariram kshetram. And kshetrajnaha etat kshetram yaha veti yaha kshetrajnaha. What is that kshetram? That kshetram is what we saw in the last class. Mahabhutani ahankaraha buddhihi avyaktam indriyani dashakam indriyani ekam manaha pancha indriya gocharaha vishayaha shabdasparsha rupa rasa gandha iti icha dveshaha sukham dukkham sanghataha chetana dhritihi etat samasena kshetram iti udahritam. All these are kshetra. It is samasena briefly. It is not only the kshetram. Everything. The Bhagavan started with avyaktam and ended with up to dhritihi, physical and subtle emotions, everything. All these are kshetra. Kshetrajna we will talk about later. And in the fourth shloka, he glorified both Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Kimiti Bhagavad Gita is sung the knowledge of this Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhagaha. It is praised. Kshetra, what is Kshetram? What is its nature? What is its Vikara, Vikari? And it Prabhavaha, from where it has come and who is a Kshetrajna, all these things I am going to tell briefly. May you listen. Having said, and he praises this knowledge. The Kshetra Kshetrajna. Knowledge of Kshetram and the one who knows the Kshetram. The distinction, the Viveka Jnana, that is praised. Having talked about Kshetram, then the next topic should supposed to be Kshetrajna. But Bhagavan, it did not talk about Kshetrajna immediately. Instead, he talks about knowledge, Jnanam. Jnanam means Jnana Sadhanam. That is the means of knowledge. He talks about indirect means of knowledge. Jnanam Jnayate Anena iti Jnanam. the means of knowledge, indirect means of knowledge. So that when those means are there, then the knowledge of Kshetrajna is possible. That is, Kshetram Janati iti Kshetrajna, the one who knows the Kshetra, who knows, who is aware, Kshetrajna. Kshetrajna referring to Atma. Therefore, the Kshetrajna, the knowledge of the Atma requires some prerequisites, something qualifications. Therefore, the person endowed with those qualifications, for him, that Jnanam is not far. Then what are the qualifications? Those qualifications are also called by the word Jnanam. That is why the word Jnanam, the Vyutpatti is, see, the Jnanam is an abstract now. Jnanam, Jnadatu plus Ghai Pratyaya. Ave Ghai. So the word can be interpreted in many ways, etymologically. Jnayate iti Jnanam. That which is known, the object of knowledge is also called Jnanam. In fact, Karta also possible. There is another rule. Pachadi. That Lyut Pratyaya can be added in the sense of Karta also. The one who knows. Jnata api Jnanam bhavati. Can say. But of course here it is not in that. Jnayate anena iti Jnanam. That by which it is known. That by which it is known means that by which Atma is known, Brahma is known. What is that? By Jnanam. By the knowledge which is revealed, which is by the Shastram. Jiva Brahma Aikya Jnanam. Tena eva mokshaha. But that Jnanam to take place in the mind of the individual, the mind, the person must be a prepared person, must be an adhikari. So the adhikaritvam, the qualifications for knowledge, that is called Jnana. Who is qualified? The one who is endowed with certain qualities which are required for knowledge. Those qualities are listed here, and through that the person is referred to. The adhikari is referred to. That adhikari will gain jnanam easily. So therefore, those qualities are presented here, starting from the shloka number 8, and they are considered to be jnanam itself, because in the presence of these qualities, the jnanam is not far away. That is, when the person is an adhikari, when the person has jnana yogyata, then shravana matrena jnanam, therefore mokshaha. So therefore, these values which are going to be talked about now, which are the means for knowledge indirectly, see, these values are required for knowledge to take place. Antakarnam should be shuddha, should be free, should be pure, should be free from raga dvesha. That is what purity is. Antakarnam, suppose if it has raga dvesha, then teaching cannot take place. Even if teaching happens, we're not able to observe it and retain it because of raga dvesha. So raga dvesha have to be neutralized, have to be handled sufficiently so that teaching is retained, teaching is received and retained. So that's what we say Jnana Yogyata. Karma Yoga is meant for Jnana Yogyata. Why emphasize on Karma Yoga? Because it gives deep Pakvata. The Russian class, Priyabodhini, Gita Priyabodhini, Acharya said, Chitta Paripakvata, the maturity of the mind, which is gained through Karma Yoga. Tadupaya Jnana. Jnana Tadupaya Samabuddhitva Yuktau. Bhashikara has used this word in the Bhashya to the Shloka just we saw. Samabuddhitvam, that is gained through Karma Yoga. So therefore, Tama buddhi, the mind which enjoys samatvam, which enjoys samatvam with regard to the the experiences. Chita, Ushta, Sukha, Dukkha, all the pairs of opposites. The person is not disturbed. Samatvam, yoga uchyate. So the one who has this samattva buddhi, which is gained through karma yoga, that person is adhikari. For him, jnanam, and for him, the moksha is not far away. The moment the upadesha is received, because the mind is ready to receive and detain and grasp and understand, and therefore moksha is not far away. So that that values which are required which makes a person a yogya purusha, a fit person, a fit candidate, a fit recipient, an adhikari. That is what is talked about. So the values which makes a person a fit recipient for knowledge. Those values are also called jnanam because they become the means for gaining the knowledge which is revealed by the Shastra. They become the means indirect. When these values are present, jnanam is not difficult and therefore moksha is not difficult. In spite of listening to the Shastram, we don't enjoy the result of moksha because of the lack of preparedness, because of certain inhibitions in our yogyata. So it doesn't mean that we have to condemn ourselves. Yogyata, the adhikaritvam, one can always improve. There are three types of adhikari talked about. Uttam adhikari, madhyam adhikari, adham adhikari. Either we belong to adhama category or madhyama. Uttam adhikari is one who has done homework very well, who is prepared for jnanam. Therefore, when the person approaches the teacher, vidivata and guru mukhat, shavanena, jnanam, and therefore moksha is gained. So he doesn't have to work for nishtha afterwards because already he has done all the homework. The mind is ready. It enjoys all the values, the qualities the person enjoys. Therefore, anayasena samsarat pramuchyate, sukham bandhat pramuchyate, the language of the Gita. So therefore, the values are important. The values and knowing the values and following the values. So therefore, 20 spiritual values that alone constitute the spiritual life. That becomes a means for gaining knowledge. And jnanam is a means for moksha. Therefore, those qualities are also called loosely jnanam because they become indirect means for knowledge. Knowledge of what the Shastra reveals. So therefore, those values are talked about here. Therefore, instead of talking about kshetrajna, which is what Arjuna asked, Bhagavan here talks about the means for that, means for knowing the kshetrajna, the knowledge of the knowledge, the knowledge of Atma precedes the knowledge of self-knowledge, preceded by the values which the person cultivates by yoga, karma yoga. Those values are equated to jnanam, in the presence of which jnanam is easy, jnanam happens immediately. Achirenadi gacchati, Gita Bhagavan says. Immediately. Immediately means because the person is ready, the soil is ready. When the seed is sown, sprout will come. Soil is ready and all the situations are conducive. So therefore, these qualities are equated to jnana. And these qualities, 20 spiritual values, are important. In fact, Swamiji talks about these values first before even beginning the first chapter. Because all the adhigaris who come, all the students who come, they are considered to be enjoying these qualities. If not, they have to cultivate so that Shravanam becomes fruitful. In the absence of these qualities, Shravanam will not be fruitful. That is the idea. So these are important shlokas, not just for knowing, but for practicing, memorizing, knowing, and then practicing. It's very important. So let us chant the first shloka. Amanityamadam hittvamakim sakshantirarjavam
अमानित्वं मदं नित्यम् अहिंसा शान्तिरार्जवम्
आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः
आचार्य
आचार्योपासनं शौचं
धैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः
धैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः.
The shloka is not complete because here Bhagavan lists down the values. So it goes up to Etat Jnanamiti Proktam up to 12th shloka. All this Etat referring to all these values, spiritual values. Etat Jnanam iti Proktam. All these are said to be Jnanam. And what is Ajnanam? Other than that, it is Ajnanam. They are called Jnana. The qualifications, what are mentioned here, these are the attributes of the Antakaranam. So they are called Jnana. Why? Because they are the cause for Jnanam. They are called Jnanam because they are the cause for Jnanam. So when these qualifications are there, then what is to be known, Jnayam, that can be known through Jnanam. So, Etat Jnanam. Other than this, it is Jnanam. See, that which is supposed to all these values, they are Jnanam. The one who doesn't have all this, that person is Ajnani. That is Ajnanam. Like Ahankara, for example. Ahankaraha, the person who is Ahankari. Jnani or Ajnani? Ajnanam. So, therefore, devoid of Ahankara, the sense of egotism, that is Ajnanam. Absence of that, it is Jnanam. That is one value. Similarly, there are many values are talked about here. So starting from the 8th shloka onwards, each word is important. Be elaborated. Amanitvam, number one. In this shloka, number one, Amanitvam, first value. These are called value of values. When these values are there, the values have to be valued. When the values are valued, these are should be valued for its for these values should be valued by the person having understood the value of them because it gives rise to jnanam or give the preparedness for jnanam. So whether it is for moksha or not, even to live a sane life free from any conflicts, these values are important. So whether it is spiritual life or material life, we don't classify life as like that. But even if we say these values are important, not for the sake of the other people or society, it is for the person to be sane. Then only the person can lead a sane life. So these values are important. In the absence of these values, the person will be a split person. The person will be a distorted person. He will not enjoy peace. He will not enjoy the relaxed mind. So you will be bombarded with problems and you will be agitated all the time. So you will be devoid of peace. If a person wants peace, if even if not moksha or not spiritual, but these values must, if the person enjoy, he is relaxed in the world, living a material life, he is relaxed. But of course, as a spiritual aspirant sadhaka, these values are important for us. We have to cultivate. What values to be cultivated? Unless we know the values, how do we know those values have to be cultivated? So therefore, the knowledge of the values are important. The knowledge is preceded by valuing the values. So first, valuing the values, we should appreciate these values. Then the knowledge, what they mean. They are not taken for granted. These have to be known. The knowledge of the values and the value of following the knowledge. So the first value is amanitvam. Second one, adambitvam. Ahimsa, kshantihi, not shantihi, kshantihi, arjavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, stairyam, atma vinigraha. In the language of Ashtanga Yoga, Yama, Niyama, those are values only. In Gita, these are the values. The Ashtanga Yoga, the eight-limbed yoga, final one is Samadhi. Samadhi is the goal. But starts with what? Starts with Yama and Niyama. Without Yama, Niyama, the Samadhi, the final goal is not possible. So Yama and Niyama, do's and don'ts. So when those are followed strictly, then the end is achieved. In the absence of which, it is not possible. So similarly here also, the values are presented. So many of the values will be common with Yama and Niyama. So first one is Amanitvam. It is presented in a negative way. Nanch. Mana means Atma Shlaganam is mana. Praising oneself. Boasting. Mana. Atmani Pujyatva Bhavana. That is mana. Mana is Atmani. Atmani Pujyatva Bhavana. That is Manaha. Swasmin Utkrishta Buddhihi. Swasmin Utkrishtatva Buddhihi. That is Manaha. Manaha asya asti iti mani. Manin nakaranta shabda. That becomes mani, manino, maninaha, referring to the person. See, the amanitvam is the status of being a amani. So the person is mani. The status of being that is amanitvam. So mani, when we say that, one who has got mana. So mana, the quality, the one who has got the status of being that. That is how the Shastram presents. Even when we talk about adhikari, we don't say adhikari tvam, we say. The status of being a adhikari tvam. It means the person has to cultivate the adhikaritvam. Not everyone is an adhikari. Not everyone is a born adhikari. But it can be cultivated. The therefore status of being adhikari. So it is not labeling the people as this person adhikari, that person is not adhikari, anadhikari. No. Adhikaritvam, when we say, everybody has a potential to cultivate the status of being adhikari for the pursuit of jnana. That's why adhikaritvam, that tvam is important. Shastra very carefully uses. Similarly, amanitvam, the status of being a amani. Therefore, amani is a mensch. So we should know what is mani. Then only what amani we know. So mani is, from the word, to know mani, we should know what is mana. Mana is a quality. The one who has that quality is mani. And mani is not a good quality. Not conducive, it's not a value. Therefore, mani, negative. When you say negative, it becomes positive. That is a value. The person who has that value, amanitvam, the status of being that, the status of having that value, referring to the person, amanitvam. So each word has got like that. So therefore, amanitvam, we have to remove the pratyayatva, we have to remove the word then you will have mani. So mani means manaha asya asti iti manin. Mani, manino, maninaha. That is how it is declined. Manaha asya asti iti mani. Then what is manaha? Question will come. Without that, how mani will come? Manaha is pujyatva bhavana. Manaha is raising oneself. Atma shlaganam. The person who has got manaha asya asti iti manin, mani. Therefore, the one who praises oneself, Atma Shlaganam. The nature, the status of being a mani is manitvam. The status of being a mani, the one who the nature of a mani is manitvam. The mani is a person, and the nature of the person is manitvam. Absence of that, amanitvam. So therefore, the mani is one. The mani is who has got the mana, that is, who praises oneself, himself. That is, he wants his virtues, values, whatever values he has. He thinks as though he has. He wants other to know. He wants that to be known to others and demands respect from others. Why should others acknowledge? If someone has a value, he need not force others to acknowledge. So, and also only when the person has a value, it will be acknowledged. But this person wants acknowledgement, wants recognition. This person wants recognition. The problem comes when the person demands a recognition. So there is demand of recognition. So when there is demand of recognition, then comes a tension. There is a demand, and when there is no supply. Demanding is a problem, emotional problem. The person has got a low self-image. And therefore, only he demands respect from others. When he demands, when he doesn't get, he feels disturbed. So therefore, there is a lack of self-acceptance, lack of self-image, poor self-image otherwise. The person has got poor self-image. That's why there is a demand. And the person wants others to acknowledge and praise him. Therefore, he wants to be superior. So therefore, the sense of superior and inferior, I am superior to others, like Donald Trump. So therefore, this all is based on judgment about oneself. Self-judgment. Demanding recognition, acceptance from others. But if the person knows the truth, that Aham Atma Satchit Swarupaha Atma, which is what everything is, then where is the manitvam? Where is this manitvam arises out of individuality, that is due to ajnanam. So, in fact, everybody is Ishvara only, Bhagavan. Therefore, when the person recognizes same Atma everywhere, that manitvam goes away. So that's what from the worldly angle as well as Vedanta, angle of Vedanta. From the angle of Vedanta, it is knowledge. Everything is Bhagavan. Therefore, there is no high or low. There is no superior or inferior. The person feels superior because of ajnanam. And that going to create problem in the world also. Even if the person is not a spiritual person, not Vedanta, but it will cause problem for that person. As an aspirant, the person must be free from that. Therefore, amanitvam, not demanding recognition or respect, acceptance from others. Amanitvam. Otherwise, all the time the person will be seeking acceptance, seeking recognition from others. So you won't be able to pursue knowledge for moksha. You will not be able to pursue spiritual life because he is in constant trouble, constant agitation, always seeking recognition. That is why the first quality is manitvam, amanitvam. Manitvam is negative. Amanitvam is opposite. So therefore, amanitvam says absence of seeking demand, absence of seeking respect from others, absence of demanding respect, demanding recognition from others. So therefore, amanitvam, that is the first value, amanitvam. So therefore, manaha atma utkrishta buddhihi, absence of that, amanitvam. Then adambitvam, again here also, adambitvam, negative. Damba is proclaiming one's own glory, trumpeting one's own glory, pretension it is. You don't have to proclaim your glory. No, because if you really have such vibhuti glories, other will come to know and recognize it. You don't have to proclaim. See, at least in manitvam, the person may have all the qualifications, therefore it demands respect from others. Not that it can be accepted. But in dambitvam, the person doesn't have any qualifications. It doesn't deserve at all respect, but demanding. That is the difference. Amanitvam and adambitvam. Damba between manitvam and dambitvam. Between mana and damba. Mana is demanding respect from others, and the person also has got something, therefore it's demanding. But damba is the person doesn't have any qualification at all. He's not a yogi person, but he demands because he is of his superior self image. So damba is proclaiming one's glory, which that a person doesn't have. That person is called dambi. Dambaha asya asti iti dambi. Dambin. Again, this is also nakaranta shabda. Dambi, dambino, dambinaha. The person is something different, but how he projects that is different. Therefore, there is a split. Swasya anyata pradarashanam. Labha puja kyatyartham. That is dambaha. Atmanaha kyapanam. Dambaha. Proclaiming one's glories. Dambaha asya asti iti dambi. Tasya bhavaha dambitvam. Tad abhavaha adambitvam. You see how the word is. Dambaha asya asti iti dambi. So tasya bhavaha dambitvam. The status of being that, the nature of that, the nature of having damba is dambitvam. Absence of that, adambitvam. The negative. So the whole spiritual problem is about the self non-acceptance. And this, when the person is damba, it means the person doesn't accept himself as the person is. And added to that, there is pretension also. Added to that, there is pretension. So therefore, it is more complicated. Therefore, when the person is a dambi, when dambitvam is there, then jnanam is far away. Therefore, adambitvam, that is another important value the person must cultivate. Adambitvam, absence of damba, absence of pretension, pretending as though the person has those glories, those values. That is dambi, referring the person is dambi. Dambitvam, na dambitvam, adambitvam. Okay, this is the second one. So amanitvam and adambitvam. Amanitvam is absence of mana, atmashlakanam. The status of being the person free from atmashlakanam, that is amanitvam. Adambitvam is the status of the person being free from damba, free from atma kyapanam, that is damba. The fine difference between the two is the first case the person may enjoy those values, therefore there is certain seeking of recognition. Whereas in second case, the person doesn't enjoy anything, any qualities at all, but still seeks respect, values, recognition from others. Both are seeking. When the person seeks acceptance from others, is a samsari or is a muktaha? Samsari only. Moksha is it's all about self-acceptance. Accepting oneself as the person is. Accepting oneself, that it starts with whatever demerits us. But that is only of the upadi. The person has to grow to understand that he is free from this, all such things. He is Sachit Atma iti. That is the final. But it starts with relative self-acceptance. The spiritual life starts with relative self-acceptance. If there is complete self-denial, then the person cannot pursue spiritual life at all. So there is relative self-acceptance. I am fine, I am okay with as what I am. But it ends with total self-acceptance. That is in the form of knowledge. So all starts with all the spiritual life starts with relative, peace, relative happiness, relative self-acceptance, and ends with total. That is what you is. Because of ajnanam, not able to recognize the swarupa of oneself, the person, suffers in samsara. So, therefore, samsara nivritti is the moksha hetu when we say. For that also the person must enjoy those things at a relative measure. That is, those what he seeks. Those things should be at a relative measure. What he seeks security. Therefore, the person must have relative security. The person seeks happiness. It means the person must have relative happiness. The person seeks comfort. It means the person must have relative comfort. Ultimately, what the person wants is self-acceptance. Therefore, the person must enjoy relative self-acceptance. If that is so, then it should have the quality amanitvam. It should cultivate that, the status of being a amani and adambi. Therefore, these two values are important values, and it is listed first. Then third value is ahimsa. Ahimsa paramo dharmaha. Among all the dharma has got another meaning, values also. Dharma has got so many meanings. Dharma meaning karma also. Or dharma is that by which a thing is. Thing is. That dharati iti dharmaha. A vastu, an object is because of its dharma. The substance by which a thing exists, that is dharma. Dharma means karma. Dharma means values also. Dharma means punya. So many meanings are there. But here we're talking about dharma as a value to be practiced. That is ahimsa. Ahimsa paramo dharmaha. This here also you can see it is negative. Himsa, na himsa, ahimsa. Ahimsa, not hurting. Non-violence, not hurting others, not hurting any beings. At all the three levels. By kaika, vacha, manasa. At the level of body, at the level of mind, at the level of words. Words are so powerful. It can cause caustic feelings in others. Therefore, in using the words, Imsa is parapedanam. Raninam pedanam. Raninam pedanam, that is imsa. Ahimsa, tad abhavaha. Absence of afflict, afflicting beings, any beings. That is ahimsa. Kaya van manobhihi. Raninam apidanam. That is ahimsa. By body, by speech, or by words, by action, or by mind, even in thought level also. Not hurting the other beings. That is ahimsa iti. But can we live without hurting, without causing any affliction? It's not possible, because we live at the expense of other beings only. A lot of microorganisms are killed when we breathe in, similarly when we breathe out. But all the time we do it. For real ahimsa, it's possible only for a jnani. But this has a value to be practiced. That is why this ahimsa is a principle, a pratigna for a sannyasi. That kashaya vastra, the kashaya vastra denotes that. Kashaya vastra denotes that I am a sannyasi and I have taken the vow of ahimsa. Therefore, you need not be afraid. So he proclaims to the world that he is not a threat. It's not a threat to others. So therefore, ahimsa. So therefore, and ahimsa is to be understood based on the context. Because we are studying Gita now. In the Gita, this Upadesha happens in the midst of the battlefield, and Arjuna is going to fight with his enemies. And at the end, what happens? All the people were completely destroyed. All the Akshoginis, 18 Akshoginis. 18 Akshoginis, that is the total. Each Akshogini consists of so many infantries, the horse riders, elephant riders, all are killed at the end. Is it not Imsa? That's why it is to be interpreted based on the situation. The spirit behind that has to be understood. Here the Yuddha is for establishing Dharma. And also the who is fighting, Arjuna is fighting, being a prince, its Dharma is there. The Dharma is to protect the Praja, protect the Dharma, uphold Dharma. Therefore he has to fight. Therefore here he cannot practice Ahimsa. This would be a wrong thing on the part of Arjuna if he practices Ahimsa as a prince. Buddha as a king, if he had practiced Ahimsa, it would have been disastrous. Buddha renounced the kingdom, became a sannyasi, and then practiced Ahimsa. That is different. Therefore, the people who are at the level of managing the country, they cannot practice Ahimsa. The country, for its self-defense, must have an army. It's not to cause harm to others, at least for protection, self-protection. The self-protection involves Ahimsa. Then Ahimsa is talked about. Therefore, should be hurt or not? That is why it depends on the context. So, for self-defense, one has to do certain Ahimsa that is acceptable. So, therefore, one has to understand the spirit behind the teaching. So, therefore, do not deliberately cause harm to others. That is Ahimsa. Don't cause Ahimsa even at the thought level. Don't do anything deliberately. Be sensitive about others' sufferings, others' pain. So don't enjoy the afflictions of the others. Don't revel in their sufferings. Their pain should become, in fact, your pain. You should feel for them. That you will not do. You will not do any action which are harmful. So putting oneself in their shoes, empathy. Therefore, you allow the other beings to live and you also live. Therefore, ahimsa, that is required. So, jiva karunyam, otherwise, having compassion for other beings, as you don't want to be hurt by others. Similarly, other beings also not want to be hurt. So, it's a simple thing to understand, but difficult to practice. Because Manishya Rupena Mrigaha Charanti. Human beings are become so insensitive, they revel in others' suffering. They don't think what would be their lot when somebody more powerful than them do harm to them. So it is the value involves little thinking and practicing. And it is the foremost value for a sannyasi. Paramaha dharmaha sannyasinam ahimsa iti. So himsa dhatu, there is a dhatu hims dhatu, himsati, himsa. That it is derived. Parapidanam. Then the next value, arjavam. Arjavam meaning straightforwardness. Arjavam. Sorry, Shantihi is Shantihi. From the dhatu, ksham dhatu, kshama. The person, Shantihi, remains unchanged. Even if the other person, even if the other person does anything wrong, either by words or by action, there is no immediate impulsive retaliation. There is no vikriya. It's called vikriya. First, occurs in the form of the retaliation, in the form of the vritti, then in the form of the action. The absence of that is called kshanti. A person hurts me either physically or verbally. So immediately what happens? There is a vritti in the mind that tells me, I am hurt, you are hurt, therefore you retaliate. And retaliation in the form of action, or it could be in the verbally. Now, absence of that is called shanti. Absence of such a reaction is what is called shanti. How can anyone be without any reaction if the other person has caused him trouble, has caused some disturbance? See, if that, because here we are talking about a mumukshu. Therefore, the mumukshu should step one step further and see what has caused the other person to act in this way. The mukshu, the person should put himself in the other person's shoes, and see if he had been in that person's situation, would he have acted in that way? Because every person's action has got some background. Because of certain background, the person behaves. So given the background, they also will be acting the same way. So therefore, understanding the situation of the other person and taking one step back, having empathy for that person and taking one step back, and first thing is prevent the physical action. Shanti, the practice of Shanti begins with not responding physically to start with, and then at the thought level also. Because it is the vritti, the thoughts, and that manifests in the form of the action. First, the control has to come at the level of physical level and then at the mental level. So when the person understands the other person's situation and have empathy, therefore he withdraws, he takes one step back and then act intelligently. He acts, not reacts. Therefore, he means the person is open and he accommodates the other person. That's a certain accommodation. The person, because he enjoys the space inside, the other person doesn't enjoy, therefore he is acting. But if you also react, it means you don't enjoy the space, the inside. There is pressure, therefore you also act. But if you are a sane person, if you are a mature person, then you will accommodate the other person by understanding the other person. That is called kshanti. So your reaction will not be it will not be a reaction. The response would be intelligent response. In reaction, there is no thinking. You just react. There is no thinking, therefore there is no learning. There is no understanding of the other person. But when you understand the other person, when you accommodate the other person, then what you do would not be reaction. It will be an intelligent action. So therefore, if the person has Shanti, that is why we have seen in our stories and the Puranas, etc. A saintly person will enjoy this quality, Shanti. Even if the other person does harm, he will not react. It's not suppress his feeling. He can accommodate. It's like a kid beating his father with his leg. The father is not going to react because it's a kid. Similarly, that space, that mental space, enjoying such mental space is not an easy thing. That is the prerequisite. And of course, it is required all the more for the person who stays in the ashrama, being a community, that to face so many people. And if we keep reacting to every people, your life will be a hell. Therefore, Kshama, Shantihi, Para Aparada Saganam, Sagishnutvam. Viveka Chudamani Acharya says, Sagishnutvam. What is Titiksha? It's called the Titiksha. Shantihi, Titiksha, all have got the same meaning. The Titiksha, Sagishnutvam. Apratikara Purvakam. That is Sagishnutvam. Not reacting, not retaliating. Apratikara Purvakam. There is no retaliation. Retaliation begins with the mind. So therefore, Saganam Sarva Dukkhana, enduring all the dukkha. Apratikara Purvakam, with no retaliation, not reacting. That is Satitiksha iti Abhidiyate Adhigamyate. So Kshama, Para Aparada Saganam, Sakishnutvam. That is Shanti, important value. Then Arjavam. Arjavam Rijubhavaha, straightforwardness. The mind, the speech, and the action, they are in alignment. Then only the person is a sane person. Otherwise, it becomes a split person. All these are in alignment. As a thought, so the words, so the action. So therefore, there is complete of alignment of thought, word, and the deed. Then only the person is a sane person, and the person can be believed. So if he is plays fast and loose, is unreliable. The person doesn't act with what he says. Doesn't say what he thinks also. Therefore, there is inconsistency. And the inconsistency person, we don't rely, we don't believe, we don't accept those persons even as friends in the world. So what to talk about here? So if the person is Arjava, then the person has got clarity with regard to the spiritual goals, and that all only he speaks and that accordingly acts. So therefore, Satyam Vada, suppose we say, Satyam, speaking the truth, is one of the Arjavam. Arjavam is, immediately we say Satyam, sticking to the truth. He knows what is the truth, that alone he speaks, that alone he shows in his action. So therefore, Arjavam, straightforwardness. So this is Rijubhavaha Arjavam. Okay, I think we have to stop here. Then second line, Acharya Pasanam, Shocham, Stadium, Atma Vinigraha, self-mastery, self-control. These four values we will see the next verse. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyai Stavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadaihi Dayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidusura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ धन्यवादः
धन्यवाद आचार्य जी।
हरि ओम, धन्यवाद गुरुजी।